Alright, let's make a party. Welcome to the most important screen in the entire game. The decisions you make here will vastly shape how you experience Might and Magic 7. No pressure, right? The game suggests a default party of Knight, Thief, Cleric, and Sorcerer, with bonus starting skills selected as well as attribute points allotted in various categories. This is a powerful party combination. We will not be using it. I noted that this video would be devoted to character creation and explaining basic game concepts. If you're actually interested in watching gameplay, skip ahead to the next video. If you'd like to learn about these various things, or if you'd like a refresher course, stick along. I've tried recording this a few different times. It's easy to ramble and lose focus because I never really considered what it would be like to explain all of this to someone who's never played this game before, or like one game in like the Might and Magic series. But I will try, damn it. We'll begin with character attributes. There's Might. Characters with a high might statistic do more damage in combat. There's Intellect, which governs spell points for some character classes. There's Personality, which governs spell points for some classes. Endurance gives a character more hit points. There's Accuracy, allows the character to hit monsters more frequently in combat. Speed, which increases armor class and reduces recovery rate, allowing the character to recover quicker so that they can act quicker in combat. And Luck, which can help you in various minor ways. 9 different classes. Knight, workhorse fighting class, can never learn any spell, can never get any spell points, can never cast any spells, can turn into an absolute murdering machine, depending on how you cultivate the Knight. Like a piranha plant. You feed it, you take care of it, that Knight will serve you well, bringing the might to Might and Magic. Though it is worth noting, as is the case in many games, that Magic can bring the might, but Might has a real hard time bringing the magic. You've got a Cleric, an adventuring spellcasting holy person, specializing in the magics of the self. That's body, mind, and spirit. Can be decent and capable combatants, but the real power they bring to the table is through their total skill and power in those self-magics. You've got an Archer. Now we'll skip the Archer. You've got a Sorcerer, who is a student of the realm of elemental magic. They are downright rotten fighters, but they can wield mighty offensive spells. They can learn all 4 elemental magics, that's fire, air, water, and earth, and like the Cleric, have access to the light or dark magics, depending on which path you choose. Yes, later in the game, there's a morality choice, resulting in either light magic or dark magic. And the sorcerers and clerics can wield those to their full potential. Okay. So you have Archer, which is a fusion between the Knight and Sorcerer classes. They're skilled with bows, chain armor, so they can be competent combatants, but they'll also have some knowledge and expertise of the elemental magics. Paladins are a fusion between Knight and Cleric. They can be capable combatants, and they'll have some foundation in the self-magics. Druid is a fusion between Sorcerer and Cleric, where they can learn both elemental and self-magics, giving them 7 schools of magic to juggle. They're also not exactly very capable fighters, but they make really great alchemists, if you're into that sort of thing. Now, while archers and paladins can establish like a basic foundation in the lighter dark paths, the druid cannot. Druid has the 7 schools of magic, it doesn't get any more. Okay, that leaves us with the thief, who is a very capable and potent fighter, but also has a lot of secondary skill potential, with disarming traps, for example. Or if you want to steal stuff from stores or from people, you can certainly do that too. If you're into that sort of thing. And, they can identify items to some extent. They can spot secrets to some extent. They're pretty nice for utility value. Which means that basic suggested party of knight, thief, cleric, and sorcerer has capable melee combatants, has all of the schools of magic represented, and has great utility value as well, with the thief represented. You have monk, which is an unarmed combat introduction. Yeah. Thief, monk, and ranger are the 3 class additions brought into Might and Magic 7 that weren't in Might and Magic 6. Though if memory serves, Thief and Ranger were represented in prior incarnations of Might and Magic. Monk just ends up being a different thing. Monks do unarmed stuff. No one else can really do unarmed stuff as well. They can have some nice damage output, though for damage potential, I would rather have a knight or a thief. And monks have some, cool factor to them, I guess you could say. It pertains to their skills and promotions, which we'll talk about in a bit. And finally, you have Ranger, which is apparently a cross between Knight and Druid. It is by far, in my opinion, the worst class in the entire game, being the jack of all trades and the master of go fuck yourself. Just, no. Now, all these character class choice matter. All these matter, not just because the classes have inherent spell and hit point progression, but because they have different skill expertise limits. A character's class affects what skills and to what level of expertise they can learn. As characters achieve new ranks in their class, promotions, they may be able to learn some of their skills at higher levels of expertise. Let's take, for example, this knight here. Sword. Knights can learn up to Grand Master, the absolute highest in sword. But in order to do that, knights will have to be promoted. Knights cannot get so far in leather. Knights are capped out at master. Just the way it is. Let's say, for example, mace. Knights are capped out at master in mace. Bow. Knights are capped out at expert in bow. Monks, no one can be better at dodging and unarmed, but they will have to be promoted in order to pick up Grand Mastery in those 2 things. But if you want to give them, say, perception, they can only become experts at that. If you want to give them identify monster, they can only become experts in that too. Clerics, body, mind, and spirit magic, they can Grandmaster, but they'll need 2 promotion quests to Grandmaster. One will unlock Mastery. Now, it's worth noting that the Knight will also need 2 promotion quests to unlock Grand Mastery here too. But whereas with combat skills, you can access that Mastery level without any promotion quests, magic operates a little differently because of how powerful it is. So you need 1 promotion quest just to get that Mastery level with a Cleric, and the same goes for a Sorcerer. By the way, Sorcerer, get Master level in Staff. Cleric, can get Master level in Mace. But if we pick up something like leather armor, expert level for leather armor for the sorcerer. And merchant, sorcerer can't even get beyond normal tier. Cannot go up to the next tier at all. These skill tiers, these expertise levels, affect the game tremendously. In Might and Magic 6, if your class could learn a skill, you could take it up to its highest level, which in that game was a master level. In this game, that's simply not the case. So, if you choose an archer, archers at the beginning can only get normal magic. But with their various promotion quests, they can unlock Expert and Master, but they can never cast Grand Master. And in the light or dark paths, they'll only be able to cast normal, basic magic. If there's any Grand Master effects you want on those elemental magics, you're not getting them with an archer. There you go. That's an explanation of that. Which is why in a group of Knight, suicidal, you don't have access to casting any spells except through scrolls. You don't have access to creating potions with alchemy, which is a way to bypass using spells. It's might without the magic, and might is definitely the weaker of the two branches. Really shows. You can do like a low magic party, or if you want to go the other extreme, an immensely high magic party, but it just won't end up being the same experience. Alright, so that ran through all of the different classes. We've gone through the various attributes. Each class has its own set of starting skills, which again don't affect all of the potential skills that class can learn. For example, Knights can Grandmaster plate armor, but that's not a skill you can start with in the game. Okay, so spell and hit point progression, skill advancement, the various attributes. There's 4 different player character races. There's humans, there's elves, there's dwarves, and there's goblins. Racial choice matters. You'll notice that the starting attribute values are not influenced by class, but instead by race. Humans don't have any real strengths or weaknesses. Goblins have strengths in might and speed, where it's easier and cheaper to advance those categories. And they have weaknesses in intellect and personality, where it is expensive to raise those categories. I can press the plus-minus keys to make that simpler, but we'll show off in the UI me clicking these things. Nah, I probably shouldn't. So, there's that. Now, the differences in gender, if memory serves, there is one artifact that only works for men and one artifact that only works for women. Beyond that, no differences other than character model and voices. There's also an artifact, I think, that works with each race. It's difficult for me to remember all the artifacts off the top of my head. You don't exactly run into a lot of them over the course of normal gameplay. I'm pretty sure that's right. So, there's 8 human models, 4 dwarf, 4 elf, 4 goblin, divided evenly between gender. That's making assumptions about gender.
Don't pick me.
Some of these folks I like more than others.
Pick me. Oh, come on. Pick me.
This guy, by the way, is my favorite guy.
Come on, pick me.
Hey, right here, Chief.
It is his dialogue that got me to say, for example, call people Chief, back whenever I started playing this game, and it stuck with me. I'd call people Chief. I still do that every now and then, and it's because of this elf.
Okay, don't
You need to
pick me.
Others really,
Choose me. Pick me.
really just no.
I'm the one you want.
Now, if you do like a character model and a face, and they all have their various animations as things happen to them over the course of gameplay,
pick me. I pick me.
you can change their voices. Though do note that you are limited in the gender category. You can only choose the other female
Don't
voices.
get me killed.
Don't get me killed. Okay, that covers that. In addition, there is racism in this game, because of course there is. For example, dwarves will exclusively target goblins in your party. Elves will target humans. Goblins will target dwarves. And humans will target elves. Those aren't the only racist limitations, but that's just to give you an example of the racism that can happen. Which means that if you get into a fight with any goblins and you have a dwarf in your party, you don't have to worry about healing or protecting anyone else unless the dwarf goes down, because the goblins will exclusively prioritize the dwarf. The way it goes. It can be advantageous depending on the situation. It can also be disadvantageous. Feels like a useless sentence I just said. Also, races have some starting resistance values. I think humans start with a resistance value of like 5 to spirit and body magic. Elves have some resistance to mind magic. I think that's 10. Goblins have a resistance versus fire and air magic, and dwarves have a resistance with earth and water magic. Okay. Now that we've gone over 16 minutes, I think that's a general enough basis of explaining how this screen goes. I think it's time to actually build my damn party. Hooray! So, suggested configuration: Knight, Thief, Cleric, and Sorcerer will be deviating. We'll be deviating into Monk, Archer. We'll keep the Cleric, and we'll go Druid. For character portraits, we'll be doing this Goblin. Human-wise,
pick me. I'm your man. Tally ho.
we'll have him. Dwarf, Cleric, we're actually going to keep her. And Elf Druid will be keeping her as well. I don't think I'm gonna craft established stories for these four and how they've ended up together in this adventure of theirs. Perhaps viewers can end up making their own headcanon. You have the freedom to name characters whatever you want. You could even throw in quotation marks in apostrophes and shit like that, and the game will recognize them fine, just fine. Really great text input. Not every game does that. Our monk is going to be a goblin, and he will be not the Flail Fist. That would be too pretentious a name. We're just going to shorten that to Flail Fist. I'm going to be naming this party after entities I will feel comfortable bitching at and blaming for all of the problems they will cause us throughout this series. And Lethal Flailfist is a great example of someone I will be more than happy to blame for everything. He's the best fit for unarmed combat, and he is going to be the tank of this party. Because monks can become grandmasters at bodybuilding, so they can have a nice reserve of hit points too. Not as great as knights, but pretty damn solid all the same. Okay. Our archer here is going to be one of the best shots I know, wielding this land's equivalent of assault rifles. Revocaine. I could make some sort of stupid, pretentious name like Rev O'Kane, but no. Revocaine. The Reverend. And this human that I've selected, this character, has what I would equate to the best approximation of Revocaine's Re. He'll be our archer. And he'll basically be I'm not going to be using his magic skills, but he is going to be great range support all the same, and, you know, a serviceable melee combatant too. Taking us to the Dwarf Cleric. This is going to be, some would call her Mama, some would call her Mama Vic, but really, simple person, just goes by Vic. And this is named after Savage Oblivion. Vic is going to be the sort of character who can help you mend your body, even perhaps raise you from the dead, but all along the while be giving you like that judging parent look. And she won't say, "I told you so," or "I said that was a bad idea," or "I knew that was dumb," but her eyes will communicate with it. She won't be angry at you, she'll just be disappointed. Oh, goodness. And that takes us to this pretentious bitch right here. Very whiny. I like her. You could make her voice
Take me.
more pleasant. You could
Please,
select
choose
the
me.
more pleasant elf lady to have around.
Oh, come on. Pick me.
But we will do
Please?
nothing of the sort, because this character will actually be having a title, and that's Princess Motherfucking J2, named after J Squared John Jeremy. The character, the person least likely to watch this series, but, you know, it's cathartic to blame J2 for things, and I think it'll do everyone some good. That's going to be the party we roll with. This party is definitely weaker than the suggested starting party. We have a cleric here to sort of like balance out the weaknesses I've made, and also to show off, you know, light or dark magic to its fullest extent, because the archer can only take that to a basic value. So that's the primary reason why I've anchored the cleric here. The likely second playthrough I'll do of this will have a sorcerer instead, who can also show off, you know, that stuff too. Druid is here to provide reasonable skill in the elemental magics of earth and water. Not so much like handle the magics of self, because the cleric's there, but the druid can serve as a backup in case something awful happens to Vic. Like paralysis, or stoning, or or death, or eradication, or a curse. Shit like that. With that in mind, for starting skills, why don't we go ahead and grab Learning here for Princess J2, which directly increases the experience your characters receive, but this skill influences non-quest experience, so killing monsters. For the archer, I am going to grab... we'll grab fire magic to start off with, because the druid can't start with that. It'll be nice to have someone who has access to basic fire magic from the beginning, and we're also going to have learning here too. Vic could grab learning, but I can also just outright purchase that skill. And when you start with a magic skill, you also start with books of magic as well, to establish like an initial, like, starting, you know, like, spell repertoire. With that in mind, like, since, like, learning these magics can end up costing the same, you can, like, garner some funds by, like, instead of learning here, I pick water here, and then I'll have these spell books that I end up, like, selling. But I'm really not gonna have Revocane do a lot of casting beyond what's there in basic air and fire magic at all, so no. Vic is going to fully commit to all the magics itself, and we can pick up learning later. Princess J2, the only other elemental magic she can pick up is water. Spirit and body is going to be handled right now by Vic, and we can pick that stuff up later. Meditation, I don't think it's a worthy enough pickup. I don't think spell points are really going to be that much of an issue on Emerald Isle. And alchemy, perception, that's stuff that can be picked up cheaper. Which takes us to Flailfist, who monks can grandmaster learning, yet the monk cannot start with the learning skill. I was like, well, what the hell do we start with then? There's actually nothing that can end up being the most expensive, the greatest. So it's like, well, crud. We could start with something like bodybuilding and arms master. Oh, monks and arms master. We'll talk about that later on in the series, I'm sure. Maybe something like leather would end up being more useful. Or we could just say that Flailfish says no and directly commits to just not even wearing any scrap or shred of armor, despite the fact that starting leather armor would be superior to him being, just pure dodging. Because dodging skill adds to armor class. And a suit of leather armor is going to be better than the starting dodge, but whatever. That's how Flailfist rolls. Alright, good. 12 or 25 minutes. I knew it would take this long. I'm tired. It's been a rough day. Let's just assign the damn bonus points. But before we do that, let's subtract from everything. A nice diversity, I feel. I typically don't play with one of each race. But I will likely do that for the next playthrough as well, and it'll once again be split between the genders too. So we can see and hear even more of the lovely characters in this video game. Right, so monks would eventually use personality to cast spells. But goblins have terrible advancement in personality. Monks don't unlock spellcasting until later, and I'm not counting on Flailfist to do anything of the sort. That's a waste. Intellect, total waste. We are going to take up Might, and we are going to take up Endurance. So, attributes in this game can go up to 500, but there are diminishing returns after the 25 mark, where you have to have even more attribute points in order to get, like, another +1. Which is why, like, the attribute values, when they're low, like, past a certain point, getting minor pluses to your attributes don't really matter. Because you're past the threshold where you're going to get much of anything from those bonuses. Whereas the difference between 5 intellect and 25 intellect, I think is like a 10-point bonus swing. So, that's huge. Might and Endurance. Similarly, with the Archer, we're actually going to be taking a Might and Endurance approach too. With Vic, here, Personality is going to be increased to maximum. Because Vic is a cleric, and their spell pool is based off of personality. Princess J2 is going to have intellect and personality. Because that's just what druids have. Druids just have this amazing, super wizard cool Jesus spell pool. Like, well, that's great, Grimith. You really upped those attributes, but looking at everything else, I mean, gosh. Not looking too hot for some of these other things, particularly the druid with endurance, because the elves are rubbish at endurance. I'm not spending points in character creation fixing that. We'll find other pluses to endurance for Princess J2 to have. You're out of your damn mind if you think I'm fixing that now. We'll actually be taking these points from Revocane in Reflection, since dwarves do get a bonus to Might and Endurance. These points are better spent on Vic than they are on Revocane. A tragedy, to be sure. Now, luck score, it's a minor thing, and there's a way in Emerald Isle to increase luck, to some extent. Not too worried about it. So Flailfist will get the luck he ever so richly deserves. But there are more important things to increase. Accuracy and speed. Yeah. What I care about is survivability right now, and we will accomplish that. through might, so that we hit harder in combat, and endurance, so that we can take more punishment in combat, and increasing spellcasting attributes, so that my spellcasters, although all 4 of these characters can eventually become spellcasters, Vic and Princess J2, who insist on the princess title, will be the ones who are handling the spell stuff. This is primarily a ranged party. This is not a party that's really going to mix it up in melee. The other party that I run with is definitely going to be a bruiser party. That said, Monk is still going to be useful. We are not going to be able to avoid all melee situations, and Flailfist will handle his role nicely, I do think. He'd be better as a knight, but Flailfist is most assuredly a monk. That's the lifestyle he wants to live, and who am I to question him? Right, 10 more points. Let's go ahead and put those into... I don't want to split them evenly, just due to how, the bonus, point breaks work. Why don't we go ahead and put 6 points into might and 4 points into endurance. With this current setup, this means that I don't feel as compelled to increase might or endurance for Vic or Flailfist. If I find those items, I'll feel inclined to increase Revocane's might and endurance. Along with Princess J2's, because, I might get into a melee situation and have no faith or confidence in J2 being able to hit anything. Alright, that's good. Possibly I could drop Mind Magic here, instead pick up Learning, because I don't feel like I'm going to make much use out of Mind Magic on Emerald Isle. Sure, why not? Mind Magic, we'll have it later. There we go, that's it. Finally, after over a half hour, we are done with this damn Scream. Scream? Maybe we'll do that later. This is a party. Let's watch an intro cutscene. Well, another one.
Hear ye, hear ye. The Emerald Island scavenger hunt is about to begin. The list of objects has been given to all contestants. As you know, the winners of the contest will be awarded title to Castle Harmony and the surrounding lands. Be careful. Emerald Island can be dangerous. Last night, 3 contestants disappeared, and we are concerned for their safety. During the contest, please be on the lookout for our missing contestants. If you find a piece of equipment in the woods, return at once with the clue. It may save their lives. There have been rumors that some kind of monster is loose on the island and may be hiding in one of the caves. If you see a cave you are unfamiliar with, don't go into it. Send someone back to town and the guards will conduct a search for you. We don't want anyone else to get hurt. And one more thing. We have... Sorry. We have reports that the monster may be a dragon. If you see it, run for your lives.
Great. Great. Awesome. By the way, although the game does make a nice, friendly, and convenient autosave after character creation, we will make a hard save, something called the party. Go a bit over my control setting. These volume settings even take effect on the main menu, which is a novel concept. By the way, this is my least favorite music track in the entire game. It's Emerald Island's music track. We're not going to be hearing that much more of it beyond this video because of how much I don't like it. Always run option. I've set it on. It does actually affect combat recovery speeds. You recover quicker when you're walking instead of running. Or standing still, because then you're still not running. That's important to keep in mind. Keyboard, I've definitely configured that. I'll be like almost all of the controls are ones I can operate with my left hand, allowing my right hand to do minor things like move the mouse around. That's not that important in this game, but still has some utility value. And there's a default button that I do not want to accidentally click. Okay. I already need to. Already need to. So, whenever I initially started playing this game, well, there'd be some runs where I would download character editors explicitly so I could set everyone's experience values to the same number. Because it bothered me that everyone had different starting experience. Just my headcanon. You can see the effects of people's terrible accuracy, like the dwarfs. -4 attack bonus. That's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Elf doesn't really have that poor attack bonus thanks to the accuracy, but her damage consists of 1. And if I gave her this dagger, it'd still be 1. Okay, so start with our initial spells. Start with a +4 Ring of Speed. Take that off. We should probably do that when we actually get the gameplay proper. People start with equipment that's a little randomized, but also, of course, dependent on the skills you've chosen. We have no awards yet. We had a +4 Ring of Speed, that's pretty nice. A +4 Ring of Accuracy, Pro Ring of Precision, that's pretty nice. Had a crossbow there for the archer. And +2 Air Resistance, which, Alright, I was right about the resistances. Good. Yeah, +2 Air Resistances. But hey, +4 Accuracy and Speed? That can make a big time influence. Take, for example, like, look at that in accuracy. We've evened it out so that the archer is no longer taking a penalty to these things. That's good, right? One other thing. There's a tour guide who will give us a tour of Emerald Isle. I thought about doing it in this video instead of having that be in the gameplay video, because I wanted to show us some gameplay, but I think given this video's length, I'm gonna push it to next video. Lovely tour guide who wants to welcome us to Emerald Isle and tell us about all of the things. I guess we'll engage with her and the townsfolk and stop in and visit and say hi next time. Look at this game. Beautiful. Looking at this, though, does remind me that Might and Magic 6 does have a moving skybox. You're going to hear a lot of talk of Might and Magic 6 throughout the series, I think. Although you can enjoy this game perfectly fine, without comparing the two, they are inextricably linked just due to how closely they were released and how this is a direct follow-up to that game. And here's Might and Magic 3. But this is my favorite of the series. Alright, that's enough prattle. It is time to put this video to bed. It's time to put Grimith to bed. I just wanted to get character creation done. There was a bit of hubbub and kerfluffle with that on account of, well, a few folks had expressed concerns about the low audio levels in the first video. I spent some time just analyzing audio settings. I set up a noise gate. All of that doesn't matter. I'm done. We're done. Actual gameplay and tour guide next time, okay? Okay, seriously. Time to go to bed. For everyone. Bedtime for everyone. Bedtime for you people, too. Go to bed.